What goes around comes around. One day a man saw an old lady stranded on the side of the road, but even in the dim light of day, he could see she needed help. So he pulled up in front of her Mercedes and got out. His Pontiac was still sputtering when he approached her. Even with the smile on his face, she was worried. No one had stopped to help her for the last hour or so. Was he going to hurt her? He didn't look safe. He looked poor and hungry. He could see that she was frightened, standing out there in the cold. He knew how she felt. It was those chills which only fear can put in you. He said, "I'm here to help you, ma'am. Why don't you wait in the car where it's warm? By the way, my name is Brian Anderson." Well, all she had was a flat tire. But for an old lady, that was bad enough. Brian crawled underneath the car looking for a place to put the jack, skinning his knuckles a time or two. Soon he was able to change the tire, but he had to get dirty and his hands hurt. As he was tightening up the lug nuts, she rolled down the window and began to talk to him. She told him that she was from St. Louis and was only just passing through. She couldn't thank him enough for coming to her aid. Brian just smiled as he closed the trunk. The lady asked how much she owed him. Any amount would have been all right with her. She already imagined all the awful things that could have happened had he not stopped. Brian never thought twice about being paid. This was not a job to him. This was helping someone in need. And God knows there were plenty who had given him a hand in the past. He told her that if she really wanted to pay him back, the next time she saw someone who needed help, she could give that person the assistance they needed. And Brian added, "And think of me." He waited and she started her car and drove off. It had been a cold and depressing day, but he felt good as he headed for home, disappearing into the twilight. A few miles down the road, the lady saw a small cafe. She went in to grab a bite to eat and take the chill off before she made the last leg of her trip home. It was a dingy-looking restaurant. Outside were two old gas pumps. The whole scene was unfamiliar to her. The waitress came over and brought a clean towel to wipe her wet hair. She had a sweet smile, one that even being on her feet for the whole day couldn't erase. The lady noticed the waitress was nearly 8 months pregnant, but she never let the strain and eggs change her attitude. The old lady wondered how someone who had so little could be so giving to a stranger. Then she remembered Brian. After the lady finished her meal, she paid with $100 bill. The waitress quickly went to get change for her $100 bill, but the old lady had slipped right out the door. She was gone by the time the waitress came back. The waitress wondered where the lady could be. Then she noticed something written on the napkin. There were tears in her eyes when she read what the lady wrote. "You don't owe me anything. I've been there too. Somebody once helped me out the way I'm helping you. If you really want to pay me back, here's what you do. Do not let this chain of love end with you." Under the napkin were 4 more $100 bills. Well, there were tables to clear, sugar bowls to fill, and people to serve. But the waitress made it through another day. That night when she got home from work and climbed into bed, she was thinking about the money and what the lady had written. How could the lady have known how much she and her husband needed? With the baby due next month, it was going to be hard. She knew how worried her husband was, and as he lay sleeping next to her, she gave him a soft kiss and whispered soft and low, "Everything is going to be all right. I love you, Brian Anderson." What a beautiful story, ladies and gentlemen. What goes around comes around. The person that you do a favor for might not be the person that is going to help you in return. But for Brian Anderson, he did it effortlessly, ladies and gentlemen. He gave of his all, and he didn't ask for anything in return. And that's what I'm saying to you, fellow Jamaicans, in this time when we're suffering as a country. Our crime rate is at an alarming high. and our kids are dying in the streets, we ask you to, remember where you're coming from. Because what goes around comes around. If you do something bad to someone, if you hurt someone, you best believe it. What goes around comes around. I'll never forget this beautiful story of Brian Anderson. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you do have a great day. Thank you. A very pleasant good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the People's Forum in the Streets with Big Stone. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you about soul force against brute force. Now, as a young man, 23 years old, I went to the United States of America. And being the radical young man that I was, and starting to learn about my blackness, who I am, where did I came from, what was my purpose, I started to read a lot about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Thurgood Marshall, Bobby Seals from the Black Panther, Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, Idi Amin, Nelson Mandela, Steve Bantu Biko, just to name a few, ladies and gentlemen. And when I started to read about this great freedom fighter, I found one particular freedom fighter that all of those guys that I spoke about lead right back to, and that is the Honorable Marcus Garvey. But before I got deeply engulfed with the teaching and the philosophy of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, I was really a Malcolm X kind of person. You know, the kind of freedom fighter that said, if you sit the dogs on me, we should just turn around and kill the dogs and kill the attackers who put the dog on me. And then, of course, I read about Martin Luther King. And ladies and gentlemen, I could not understand Martin Luther King's philosophy. And I could not understand anything about this soul force that the great Martin Luther King was talking about. It was not until I was taking a plane ride back to Jamaica, and I like to do a lot of readings, ladies and gentlemen, and I came across a Reader's Digest book, and it told me this story about a woman who has been living with her husband for over 30 years. Every morning, religiously, ladies and gentlemen, she would make his breakfast, a nice hot cup of tea, get his coat, get his favorite shoes, and put him on his way, and he's out to work. When he comes home in the evening, ladies and gentlemen, for over 30 years, she get him a nice hot cup of coffee, take his jacket, you know what I mean, and get him his favorite slippers to slip his feet into. One day he came home sad from work. And when he got home sad from work, ladies and gentlemen, he was very grumpy and grouchy, and when she took his coat, he was very grumpy and attacking to her. But she was very calm and cool. She took his coat. She got him his favorite slippers to slip his feet into. And then she went to the kitchen and fixed him his nice, regular, hot cup of coffee. I don't know what was in him for that day, ladies and gentlemen. But you know what he did? When she presented him that hot cup of coffee, something that she has been doing for well over 30 years, and he took the hot cup of coffee and he tasted it, he just threw it in her face. It's called in hot cup of coffee. And you know what she did, ladies and gentlemen, that blew me away? She just turned and looked at him and says, "My husband, is it okay if I fix you another cup?" And ladies and gentlemen, that just tug at my heartstring, because how could you want to fix him another cup after he just threw that hot cup of coffee in your face? And it was then and there that I understand the teaching of Martin Luther King when he said you can fight brute force with soul force. And soul force, ladies and gentlemen, is that passiveness, that passive outlook to if somebody want to do you bad, and you just humble within yourself and have love in your heart, then any amount of love that you have, it doesn't matter what kind of force that hatred come with, you can just deflect it or disregard it, and it will just go away. So I learned through this short story about what it feels like to be compassionate, calm, and cool and collective. And I've learned that, and I took that story with me to this day. I'm 60 years old now. And every once in a while, I remember that lady with a cup of coffee. And this is what I'm saying to you out there. Sometimes somebody can come at you, hate you, want to hurt you, and do real bad things to you. But if you just be positive, think positive, have love and compassion in your heart, then it doesn't matter what kind of force that individual come at you with. Love can conquer all. I had a wonderful time telling you this story, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can learn something from it. Thank you very much for watching, and I do hope that you have a great day. Thank you. My mom only had one eye. I hated her. She was such an embarrassment. She cooked for students and teachers to support the family. There was this one day during elementary school where my mom came to say hello to me. I was so embarrassed. How could she do this to me? I ignored her, threw her a hateful look, and ran out. The next day at school, one of my classmates said, "Hee hee hee, your mom only has one eye." I wanted to bury myself. I also wanted my mom to just disappear. I confronted her that day and said, "If you are only going to make me a laughing stock, why don't you just die?" My mom did not respond. I didn't even stop to think for a second about what I had said. Because I was full of anger, I was oblivious to her feelings. I wanted out of that house and have nothing to do with her. So I studied real hard, get a chance to go abroad to study. Then I got married. I bought a house of my own. I had kids of my own. I was happy with my life, my kids, and the comforts. Then one day my mother came to visit me. She hadn't seen me in years, and she didn't even meet her grandchildren. When she stood by the door, my children laughed at her, and I yelled at her for coming over uninvited. I screamed at her, "How dare you come to my house and scare my children? Get out of here, now!" And to this, my mother quietly answered, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I may have gotten the wrong address," and she disappeared out of sight. One day, a letter regarding the school reunion came to my house, so I lied to my wife that I was going on a business trip. After the reunion, I went to the old shack just out of curiosity. My neighbor said that she died. I did not shed a single tear. They handed me a letter that she had wanted me to have. It reads, "My dearest son, I think of you all the time. I'm sorry that I came to your house and scared your children. I was so glad when I heard you were coming for the reunion, but I may not be able to get out of bed to see you. I'm sorry that I was a constant embarrassment to you when you were growing up. You see, when you were very little, you got into an accident and lost your eye. As a mother, I couldn't stand watching you having to grow up with one eye, so I gave you mine. I was so proud of my son who was seeing a whole new world for me in my place with that eye. With all my love to you, your mother." Can you imagine how he felt, ladies and gentlemen? I know he must have felt real bad and hurt. So if there's ever a time in your life when a family member might have undergone some tragedy or some circumstances, it is for you as that family member to step up to the plate, to be there for him or her, because you never know when that day comes, someone needs to help you. This is a very, very important story, and I'm very happy I had the opportunity of reading it to you. Thank you very much for watching, and you do, please have a fantastic day. Thank you. A woman came out of her house and saw three old men with long white beards sitting in her front yard. She did not recognize them. She said, I don't think I know you, but you must be hungry. Please come in and have something to eat. Is the man of the house home? They asked. No, she replied. He's out. Then we cannot come in, they replied. In the evening, when her husband came home, she told him what had happened. Go and tell them I'm home and invite them in. The woman went out and invited the men in. We do not go into a house together, they replied. Why is that? She asked. One of the old men explained. His name is Wealth. He said, pointing to one of his friends, and said, pointing to another one, he is success and I'm love. Then he added, now go in and discuss with your husband which one of us you want to come into your home. The woman went in and told her husband what was said. Her husband was overjoyed. How nice, he said. Since that is the case, let us invite Wealth. Let him come and fill our home with wealth. His wife disagreed. My dear, why don't we invite Success? Their daughter-in-law was sitting from the other corner of the house. She jumped in with her own suggestion. Would it not be better to invite Love? Our home will then be filled with love. Let us heed our daughter-in-law's advice, said the husband to his wife. Go out and invite Love to be our guest. The woman went out and asked the three old men, which one of you is Love? Please come in and be our guest. Love got up and started walking towards the house. The other two also got up and followed him. Surprised, the lady asked Wealth and Success, I only invited Love. Why are you coming in? The old men replied together, if you had invited Wealth or Success, the other two of us would have stayed out. But since you invited Love, wherever he goes, we go with him. Wherever there is love, there's also wealth and success. Ladies and gentlemen, what a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story. It is easy though, ladies and gentlemen, for us to get success, wealth, but we do not want to share that one most common thing that the Almighty God has given us, and that is love. Love is the most important thing you could ever have, especially for one human being to another. But if you're ever offered wealth and success, do not take it. You must take love, because where there's love, there's wealth and success. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. And you do have a great day. Thank you.